Hi, this is Dalene with McDonald's Sewing and Vacuum, and I'm currently stitching out this cute little terrier design from Ann Lauer's Doggone It collection. There's a fabric collection available from Benartex, and we do have some of those fabrics in stock, including the panels. But what I'm showing you today is Embroidery Online has created embroidery designs, and some of those also include quilting designs for these dogs to coordinate with your quilting. So I'm actually using a red block to stitch this on, and I thought I like to play around with colorways anyway, so I'm changing up some of the colors, even though her colors are some of my favorites. But I just wanted to show you this, and I'm going to come back later and show you how to add quilting using Premier+2 software that quilts beautifully around your embroidery designs. Okay, here I am stitching out this file. It's, as you can tell, that stippling around the terrier from the Doggone collection. And I'm going to move over so you can see it stitching. Got my embroidery in the middle of the block, and the machine is stitching around the design and not over it. Hi, this is Dalene with McDonald's Sewing and Vacuum, and I'm going to show you today in Premier+2 how to create quilting to go around a quilt design or an embroidery design in a quilt block. So I have Premier+2 Ultra open. You can do this in either Embroidery Extra or Embroidery Ultra. And this is a really great opportunity to take advantage of one of the wizards in the system. So I'm going to click on the Wizards tab here. Then I'm going to click on Quilt Block. And I want to use the first option. I have a filled quilt block with an inner embroidery. Or I want to fill a quilt block that already has an inner embroidery. My block is a square, so I'm going to select that, but there are other shapes of blocks available. I'm not going to change the angle right now, but the size, I do know that my quilt blocks is a 10-inch square, so I'm going to change that to a 10-inch square. I like to also change from metric to inches when I'm working with quilts in the software, so I do that in the settings before I get started. So I'm going to change this to 10 inches square and click on Next, and then I'm going to open my embroidery design that I want to work with. And there's one in here that I stitched out the other day, and it's so cute. These designs are so sweet. Cute little puppy face. And then I'm going to click on Next. This is where you can adjust the embroidery if you want to. You can adjust the margin. So let's say I change the margin to 0.02. That's going to give me a little greater distance around the dog's face. I'm going to go back to 197. To make it a little more dramatic here, let's show you 0.5. So there's a big space there. I think ½ inch is a little too much. I do like what it defaulted to, which is 0.197. So I'm going to click on Next. And the first option that it comes up with is the stipple. You can leave it the way it is, or you can change it so it's straight. And you can change it so it's a triple stitch if you want to, but here's what a straight stipple is going to look like. I really prefer the curved myself. If you wanted to do some stipple quilting, minute, very small stipple quilting, you could change this to 0.05 and see how that goes. Oh, I've got 0.05. That might be really, really small. Okay. So I've changed it back to curve, and I've made this micro stippling. It's teeny tiny. So that's really too small for me. I like the default of 197, so we're going to stick with that and with the running stitch. But notice you can also change the length of the stitch, which is nice. Okay, so back to the default stipple. You could also do channel lines, parallel lines, you can do diagonal lines, either direction. Again, you can change the gap and various other things here. You can also do diamonds, and let's say I want, or square or crosshatch. This is kind of a curved crosshatch. Let's say I want to go with this second diamond option, and I want to make the gap bigger. I'm going to try my 0.5 again. And that gives you a more open look. There are also motifs, and these are, think of these as some of the stitches from your machine. And it's set up right now, it's kind of hard to see, but this is a little star motif. And I'm going to change this so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to change the height of the star to 1/2 inch tall. That was Snickerdoodle in the background if you heard that. And I'm also going to make a gap of 25%. This is percent, not inches, so it's a little different way of looking at it. And there you go. Now you can really tell that those stars are there. So there are all kinds of stitches available for this. You've got universal, Viking, Boff stitches, and really you just have to play around with them to see what you like. There's an echo option, a contour option, and a shape option, or 2 of them. But I'm going to go back to my stipple. I really kind of like the way that one looks. And I'm going to click on Finish. And what it does now is create the stitching that goes around the embroidery design that I stitched the other day. So there you go. That's how easy that is to do. There's one more thing I want to show you to do before I am ready to use this design for quilting. I actually want to remove the dog from the middle of the design. So I'm going to restrict groups and just get that design selected. And then I'm going to go to the Modify tab, and you see now all I have is the dog, and I can do box select, select the dog, and delete those designs. And when I go back home, there's a dog-shaped design in the middle of my stippling. Okay, so I'm just going to go here to File, Save As. I'm going to call it my dog on it 3 stipple because I don't want that stitching out. So I'm going to replace one that I'd saved earlier, and then I'm going to export this into VP3 format as well. And I'm going to replace the one that I did earlier there. And then I'm ready to go stitch the quilt out when it's ready. Hi everybody, this is Dalene with McDonald's Sewing and Vacuum, and I'm going to show you today how to create quilting stitches around an embroidery design. In case you've stitched out a design and you want to have the stitches for the quilting fill in around the design. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go to File and Open. I'm going to find my design, and I'm using these cute doggone it designs from OESD and Ann Lauer. And I'm going to choose this cute little terrier. Looks a lot like the Cairn Terriers we had growing up, just cutie. Okay, so here's the terrier in all its beautiful colors. And I'm going to select all of the items in the design and combine it so I can just treat this as one thing for right now. Okay, while I have it all selected, I'm going to use my mouse and do a right click, and then I'm going to move down to Utility and Create Outline. Click on that. And I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger gap distance from the embroidery design. I'm going to make it 0.197 and click on OK. And now, maybe a little bit difficult to see, but now I've got a little outline around the puppy dog. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. And next thing I'm going to do is create my block. So I'm going to come over here to Artwork. It's this icon right here that looks like a pencil. And I'm going to click on the down arrow and choose a rectangle. And then I'm going to actually zoom out just a little bit more. My block is 10 by 10. So I'm going to go 5 inches, start out at 5 by 5 up here and end up at 5 by 5 there. And that's really close. Okay, so now if you look here, I'm going to hide the terrier for right now. And should be able to see now that there's a square. It's just artwork at this point. And then there's the outline of the terrier inside. I'm going to select both of these items in the sequence view over here on the right. And then I'm going to use my mouse and do a right click. And I'm going to combine those two. Okay, so now that they're combined, I'm going to do a right click again. This time I'm going to convert to a complex fill. And right now it's got this tatami, almost like satin stitch, fill stitch there. And I'm going to change this to stippling. And there are several different patterns. I'm going to go with the maze, which is the first one that came up. I can change the stitch length and the density here too, but I'm going to leave it at the default for right now. Click on Apply, and there is my stipple quilting. Now, even though I can't see it, the terrier is still here. I'm going to zoom back in a little bit here so we can see better. Okay, so there's my stippling with the terrier still there. And while it's still in a group, I'm going to select that group again and touch my delete key. And now I have all of my quilting stitches with a terrier-shaped gap in between. Whoops, you can see it over here in the navigator a little bit better. Oh, I see. I got my navigator way too. There we go. You can see a little bit of it again. And we're going to zoom out. I zoomed in the wrong direction. There we go. Now you can see the whole 10-inch block with a gap, with a terrier-shaped gap in the middle. And when I go back over here to sequence view, all I have is the complex fill. So now I can save that to the file type I need for my machine, which is VP3. So I'm going to make sure I don't save it as this file name because I don't want to override the original design. So I'm going to put dog on it, terrier, and this is PEP, Perfect Embroidery Pro. I'm going to change this to VP3, and I'm going to save, and then I can go put my blocks together in a quilt sandwich and stitch this around my embroidery design. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little while. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.